JP.
Hey, Brandon. How are you?
Awesome, man. I'm well rested.
Good. It's good to have you back.
Yeah. Why did you keep telling everybody I had a well-deserved vacation?
Because you did. You work your butt off, and you haven't taken vacation all year. So it's good to get some R&R.
Thanks. So today I thought we would talk about an experience I had on my vacation.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea what we're talking about.
No, I don't.
I know. But you'll be fine. You do know the theme for this month is a calm amidst the storm.
Yes.
And we decided that long before there was a bit of a storm in the markets.
Correct.
But it's appropriate. It's a great time to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
On vacation, I went to a Zen Buddhist retreat.
Okay. That's like, is that in like a big temple?
Yeah, it was like in a temple, like
Okay.
a really old temple, like a 400-year-old temple.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, the guy was so excited that I was there. And he said, "Why did you choose this temple?" And I said, "Well, actually, I was just kind of overlaying a map of from where I was to how I was going to get to Tokyo, and you were the only hotel in the middle, so I picked you." And he's like, "So what do you know about Zen Buddhism?" And I was like, "Nothing." And he's like, "You don't know anything about Zen Buddhism?" I'm like, "No." And he just kind of looks at me like, But like I'm playing the role of the Socratic role. Like I don't know anything. I'm a novice.
Yeah.
And I think that surprised him. My question for you is, how does that mentality impact our work, or where does that relate to the work that we do?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
JP, son.
That is interesting, because if you were to walk into like a church and they're in the middle of, whatever service it is, whatever denomination it is,
Yeah.
and you're like, "What's up, guys? How's it going?" They would also be a little taken aback, right?
Yeah.
So it is funny that you just showed up to something. Someone's really excited, happy to have you there. But
Yeah.
I would think it's kind of breaking it. Like, I'm curious on this. How did he break it down for you? Like, was there like an intro, a 24 hours to Zen Buddhism master course that he gave you?
So I'll lead on to the next point then. So we sit for meditation, and he says the reason we meditate is to become enlightened.
Okay.
He calls on me again. "Brandon, what do you know about enlightenment?"
Like, well, I wrote a book.
No, that is not what I said. And I said to him, "Well, I feel that's a trick question." And he said, "Why is that?" And I said, "Well, those who know don't say, and those who say don't know." And he's like, "You a spy?" I'm like, "I'm not a spy." He's like, "I thought you said you know nothing about Buddhism."
Yeah, you nailed it, right?
Yeah, and I said, "Well, that's not Buddhism, that's Taoism, that's the Lao Tzu, who I know is accredited with saying that. I'm sure someone else said it." But I'm curious to you, JP son, how does that mentality, those who know don't say, those who say don't know, how does that relate to our wealth management business?
Yeah, there's a funny way of saying that too, which is I was always told, it's not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you, It's what you know that just ain't so is what gets you in trouble. And that's the similar idea of that, which is like having a little humility, taking a step back and trying to get an objective worldview of things is usually a better strategy than listening to the loudest person in the room.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're hearing in the storm in the markets right now, is everybody has an opinion. Everyone's saying, "Oh my God, this is the new narrative. Here's my narrative. I want you to hear about it."
Right.
Tech's no longer big. The job numbers aren't as good. The Fed's screwed. Global numbers are a mess. Sell. Like, this is this narrative. And if they all knew that, like, why didn't they know that a week ago, if that were all true?
Yeah, and the other thing too is, one of the things we see a lot is there's this thing where it's like the market is pricing in, or the market has a probability of, how aggressive a rate cut's going to be.
Yeah.
And so for the last few months, it's like 100% chance that it's going to happen 25 basis points in September.
Yeah, which is a far cry from the original 5 that we were looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
Very far cry. Well, first off, if it's 100% chance it's going to happen, that means it's going to happen, which means they would have announced it was going to happen. So this is just a weird guessing of something they don't know about. But now the narrative after 2 days where the market's down, it's, we have to have an aggressive cut of 50 basis points tomorrow. This Friday we need to have it, or else all hell's going to break loose.
Which again is just like special interests crying to the Fed, like a European soccer player.
Right, exactly. It's like, hey, maybe if I whine loud enough, they'll give me what I want quicker than having to play this game a little bit longer and taking the foul later.
And truth is that nobody knows. Like,
no one
we
knows.
knew, everybody knew before last week that there were problems in the Middle East and deeper problems over the last year than over the last 50 years. And we knew that jobs numbers were going to come in weak, or at least that they weren't. There was a lot of weakness underneath. So
yeah, it had been getting weaker over time, right? If you're trying to get a job in technology right now, it's one of the hardest jobs to get.
Yeah, that's for sure. So it's not that it doesn't make sense to study it, but the loudest, as you said, the loudest voices out there really don't know.
Yeah.
And they're pushing the market in a certain way. And what we've seen time and again is that they push the market down, then they come and buy it up. Push them, or they've got hedges in place. And so they benefit financially by pushing it down. Now maybe it will get pushed down and there will be a recession.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, for our portfolios, we've never been better positioned.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're not going to suffer, doesn't mean that there's not going to be downside. But we've been running a really balanced portfolio, and I feel good about it.
I feel good about it too. And the other thing too is, like you said, there's always opportunities within this, right? There have historically been multiple 10% corrections per year throughout the last multitude of decades. So when you're looking at these opportunities, like, yes, we could have a 10% correction, and we could go back to where we were. We could go back to all-time highs. We could finish where we are, or we could go down to recession. We just don't know, and doing something rash is probably not the best move for the Federal Reserve or for us and our clients.
Yeah, so speaking of rash, so then I'm there sitting there meditating. And I don't know Buddhist meditation, but part of it, at least this strain that he was teaching us, is that your eyes are like a little bit shut, but not all the way, because you have to stay awake. And if you don't stay awake, they hit you with a pole. Like, that's for the monks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he brought out the pole, and his English wasn't great. He's a fine guy, but his English wasn't great. I was like, just for the record.
But his forehand was awesome.
I do not want to be hit. I do not want to be hit. He's like, no, it's just for show.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then he said, we're going to give you a riddle. And I want you, not a riddle. He said, I'm going to give you a problem to solve, which I realized was like a riddle. And I'm going to ask you to meditate on this, and afterwards we'll talk about it. Okay, cool. So the riddle was, the healthy man has no legs. So he said, the healthy man has no legs, go meditate. So I dip into meditation. 2 or 3 minutes later, I'm like, I think I got it. So then I just do my normal meditation. We come out of it, and he says, Brandon, what says you? And I said, well, the healthy man has 1,000 wishes, but the unhealthy man has one wish, right? And so therefore, the healthy man doesn't even realize he has legs because he doesn't care about it, because he's just going about his life. And he's like, you a spy. I was like, I'm not a spy, and who spies on Zen Buddhists?
So you cheated. So what you're telling me is all these stories, you came in prepped, ready to crush whatever test they had for you.
No, it was fun. It was good fun. But I ask you, JP Son,
yes,
is how does that riddle relate to our work? Putting you on the spot, take a minute, because I know I didn't tell you this stuff before.
Sure. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, first off, being grateful is definitely a version of being healthy, right? So if you have a lot of good things going for you, when something bad happens, you kind of have to have some context of like, is this bad of like, it's going to end my life? Or is this bad of like, that's uncomfortable, I really wish that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? And like a small stock market correction is probably not the thing that's going to ruin your life. So in our business, it's kind of like, we have a lot of really good things to be grateful for. The other thing is, going back to my Boy Scout days, is, an ounce of preparation is really worth it. And so if you just put any, even starting now, or if you started 6 months ago, doing little things to prepare yourself for this turmoil really lets you feel good and lets you open your mind to what could be rather than what is right now, right? So like having enough cash on hand lets you ride out any kind of these storms. And that's something that we've been working on for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
So
having some kind of risk strategy involved, maybe adding to more bonds or doing something defensive. Those kinds of things give you peace of mind. And so when something bad happens, you're like, you know what? I think I'm all right. I think I'm prepared for this.
I got it. Yeah. So the liquid man has no legs.
Yeah. The liquid man has no legs.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I like that, what you said about the gratitude, because that was one of the takeaways I had. The other way I was like, because I'm always just like thinking about like, how does this relate to my life? Is that when markets are going up, people are like, things are just going up. And then they start going down. You're like, oh, wow, I do have like, I have a backache, or this is really bothering me in my leg. And we don't really notice volatility on the upside, because why would you notice volatility on the upside other than to just be like, yeah, fist pump, or like,
market goes higher, thank you.
Yeah, or my accounts are up, or all that. But yeah, with downside volatility is where you start to notice like, oh, there's a problem. I better
Yeah.
start paying attention to. Do I have to start paying attention to this,
Mhm.
or what do I have to pay attention to? And then and of course I didn't just crack the code. Like of course there was so much more. He started
Yeah.
telling some ideas about like this idea of like if you once you start thinking about how you're walking because you have pain in your leg and you become conscious of walking, then you can trip. And so
Yes.
like being too conscious. So it was a great experience. The monks were awesome. It was just I was just there for a couple days
Yeah.
but I had such a great time in Japan on my well-deserved vacation. But one of the things I really liked, and I think I'll start to wrap it up, is that it's such a service-oriented country. There's so much humility, and there's like the bowing and the humility to serve others, which we do, and to allow others to serve you, which we all serve each other in this office, and we serve clients, and clients serve us in ways sometimes they don't even know about. Is just so beautiful and explicit there and intentional. And I really like that about Japan.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really interesting cultural dynamic. Most people never get to see it too, right? It's a long way away. So glad that you had that experience and you could bring some of
It
that
was
back.
amazing. Such a great culture.
Great food too.
Yeah. So this month we'll be food's amazing. Cool. So this month we'll be exploring the calm amidst the storm. How do you stay calm? I think Buddhism and Zen Buddhism do have something to contribute to that idea because really what they do is just look at this world in such a macro way and like what really matters and how can we just continue to connect to ourselves. But you don't have to be a Zen Buddhist to stay calm amidst the storm. So we'll be looking at it through our newsletter. If you have any questions about the markets, if they continue to go up or continue to go down, and you're one of our clients or not one of our clients, give us a call. We'll be happy to talk to you. But that's all I got for today.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, my only takeaway, or well, I have many takeaways from this, but one of my big ones is just, it's not about, one thing I think a lot of people do is they get worried, and then if you don't reciprocate it, they think you don't care. I think it's important to know that, being a healthy man, you do have your eyes forward on a lot of different things. That doesn't mean you're not paying attention to what's going on, right? So obviously we pay attention to these things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're realist about it. We don't lie to people and say, oh, it's all fine. There's some trouble out there, but it's about the bigger picture.
Yeah, well, it's no joke. Yeah, like what's going on in the markets right now is no joke.
Totally.
We take it seriously, but we keep our heads. Yeah. And our clients do too.
Yeah, they do.
They do. They've got a great perspective, and they're a pleasure to work with on that.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See ya.